everyone, and welcome to 10 Seconds to Air. I'm Alita Guillen. There is nothing like getting together with some friends and having a good old belly laugh, or watching a show and being all by yourself and just laughing out loud. Laughing is more than just a physical response to something funny. Laughter is an antidote for anxiety, stress, and other health issues. Studies show that people who have a sense of humor actually live longer. Laughter is also a way for us to communicate with each other. It breaks social barriers and builds connections with others, even when we don't speak the same language or have the same views. So, how do you know if you're laughing enough? And what about laughing more? Is there such a thing as a laughing practice? My guest today is an international best-selling author and a positive and well-being expert. Roz Ben Mosher has spent over 2 decades researching, writing, and teaching about the benefits of laughter. She is an adjunct lecturer in the School of Public Health and Psychology at La Trobe University in Australia, where she teaches positive psychology and the world's first laughter, resilience, and well-being short course for professionals. Roz Ben Mosher joins me now to get us laughing more. Hello there.
Hello. Lovely being here.
Thank you so much for joining me. I have to say, I really have no idea where this conversation is going to go, but I think I'm going to laugh, or I want to laugh. That's just, I'm feeling that. And there you are laughing already. I know it's early over there in Melbourne. Have you had a few laughs already? How does your day get started?
How does my day get started? Usually taking out our Labrador. So that's always a good way to start the day. So yes, or checking messages as well, which I don't do first thing, but I do get into, and generally I only check the messages that I know are going to put a smile on my face.
Well, how do you know that? How do I want to do
I'd
that?
only check like friends. Like I'd leave the ones that, oh, I'm not so sure about that. But if there's a message from someone that I've woken up to, it's like, oh, how exciting. I wonder what's going on with them.
Right. So you teach, you write, you do these interviews. What goes through your mind 10 seconds to air?
I get a sense of excitement at the possibility for connection.
Mhm.
And especially if it's a visual sort of medium, so whether I'm speaking to you or an audience, I'm really excited about the possibility of a shared smile or a
Mhm.
shared laugh, and even that sort of aha moment that you get, when you're talking, and it's like, you can sort of hear people's cogs in their brain
Yeah.
working. So yeah, it's really about that shared connection.
So how did we do so far? We're at the beginning, but how are we?
I think we've done pretty well, Alita. I think we can be
Okay.
pretty. You got
Okay.
a great smile. You got the
Okay.
laugh happening. I'd give you a
Okay.
10 out of 10.
All right. So far, so good. So we can keep going. Excellent.
We can keep
We
going.
can keep going. How did you get into this?
Well, it's not like I sort of woke up one day and thought, oh, I'm going to become a laughter therapist. It was actually, at one of those sort of forks in the road. I'd spent many years actually not particularly well with chronic fatigue syndrome. And I developed lots of food allergies and intolerances. And I'd sort of really started investigating food as medicine. So 20 something years ago, I actually was writing gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan recipes, and really researching that to help my own well-being. And I realized
Mhm.
how powerful it was. And I sent off a manuscript to a few publishers, to publish this recipe book. And this is back in the 2001.
Mhm.
And the response was from the publishers, there's just not that much market value in these type of recipe books. So
Mm.
Alita, bottom line is that we could have been speaking as me being the queen of gluten free, but that was not to be my destiny. So I thought, oh, that's a shame. What next? And I could have continued writing recipes, but I knew inherently that there was something more to well-being than just what we ate. And I decided I would go back to do some postgrad studies in well-being. And one of the courses that came up, they said, sure, we'd love to have you. However, you don't really have that much experience. Go get some experience in the field and then come back to us.
Mm.
And as luck would have it, there was a World Health Organization health promotion conference in Melbourne, and I volunteered as a rapporteur. And in between all of the marvelous sessions that I was like, oh my gosh, I found my place, there was a 30-minute laughter yoga session. And I thought this I had to report on. So, of course, I went along with my notepad and pen. And I mean, what was I thinking? You can't write about laughter. You need to experience it. And that's what I did with these sort of 70 plus people in the room. And initially it was a bit awkward, simulated laughter exercises, deep breathing, clapping, ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. What the hell was going on?
Yes.
But what the hell was going on is that these incredible moments of connection, this incredible this health bounce that I got from the 30-minute laughter yoga session that I had not received in any of the years, going in and out of specialist offices. So I went back to study, knowing I'd do something with this laughter thing, wasn't quite sure what. And really quite early on into my studies in health promotion, there's a lot of talk about mental health. But really what people were talking about, the lecturers were talking about was stress and depression and anxiety. And I thought, hey, what about this laughter thing? That's a real expression of positive mental health.
Right.
I think it's time for me to go explore this. So I trained as a laughter yoga facilitator and began practicing on anyone and everything.
Okay,
And
I just have to slow you down there for a second because you've talked about it twice now, laughter and yoga. Can you explain what that is?
Sure, of course. So laughter yoga is a concept that came into being in the 1995. There was an Indian doctor called Dr. Madan Kataria, and he was a pretty stressed out medical practitioner, and he was researching about whether laughter, in fact, was the best medicine for one of the journals that he was editor of. And he found all of these papers about, laughter and all these wonderful health benefits. However, he's thinking, how can we actually translate that into the community? So he got together with a group of 5 friends in a park in Mumbai, and they stood around telling jokes. And they had the best time. They laughed and laughed, so much so they decided they would meet the next day. The group grew because, laughter is contagious, and it's like, hey, what's going on here? And they laughed more jokes. And Alita, you can probably guess what might have happened as the days continued. So
Grew and grew.
Yeah, it grew and grew, but there was lots of these awkward pauses. It's sort of, that joke didn't go down so well. And, what one person finds funny, another person might find offensive, or it might just go right over their head. So, because humor is very subjective, right? So he was sort of thinking, whilst we're getting, quite a bit of laughter, there must be a better way of doing this. And there was a particular book that had made an impression on him. And it talked about this concept called acting as if you are happy in order to be happy.
Okay.
So he thought, I wonder if we can act out laughter in order to laugh and be happy. And his wife is a seasoned yogi. And she said, and laughter is essentially breath work, right? Laughter is joyful breath work. You can't laugh without breathing. So what if we, came up with some simulated laughter exercises together with some deep breathing? So that's the pranayamic yogic element, and clapping, which helps, generate the energy. So it's a ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. And he thought, well, I'll give it a go. So he went back to his friends in the park and he said, come up with something a bit radical. Let's give it a go. And so the first laugh that they actually tried was the Indian namaste. So hands, together and looking into each other's eyes. And it was just a gentle as they went around and greeted everyone. And then Dr. Katari would go, ho,
make me laugh.
Everyone would join in, and then they would do some nice deep breaths, and then they would go on to the next laugh that he'd come up with.
Right.
Now, this was in 1995, as I say, just with a handful or so of people. Today, it has become a worldwide phenomenon. There are around 10,000 laughter yoga clubs worldwide, online, in person, in community centers, in hospitals. And it's really taken the world by storm, because there's a tremendous potency in the ability to actually bring laughter to people's lives when it might be the last thing in the world that they feel like
Right.
doing. So, I've done some research in, people receiving dialysis. So that's, when people's kidneys have failed. I mean, these are really
Yeah.
depressing
Yeah.
walks. There's
And
nothing much to laugh about.
you still find laughter in those moments. You're trying
Well,
to find
the
laughter in those
amazing
moments.
thing is about a laughter or a simulated laughter practices is that your body cannot think. Okay, your body can only feel. So even if it starts off as what the hell is going on, I'm really not in the mood for laughing. If someone
Mhm.
laughs, it's contagious, and it stimulates a dose of positive well-being. It taps
Mm.
into our dose of happy hormones. So when I say dose, that's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Wow.
So we can't even sort of think what's going on. It's like our brain's just sort of thinking, hey, this is just fantastic. This is just amazing.
So,
And
I'm going to slow you down just for a second because there are a lot of things that I have questions on. And before you go too far ahead, I want to make sure I go back. I just want to go back to the yoga practice with laughter. And it
sure,
starts off in the namaste. And
yes,
then, and then does it eventually go into a full yoga class? Do you have a
no.
one? Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
it's a bit confusing. It's interesting, actually, when I run laughter yoga sessions in aged care, there's a bit of a, oh my gosh, are we going to have to get into
Right.
leotards? We don't. We don't have to get into the
Okay.
Lululemon leotards. Um, it is the
But that might be a
yogic.
good laugh.
It can, the downward dog. Ha ha
Yeah.
ha.
Yeah.
It can incorporate laughter into yoga. It's not traditional. The yogic aspect is the fact that when we laugh, we're very much in the present moment of joy.
Hmm.
So it's like in meditation, in yoga, it's about, coming, back into that present moment, just that sort of anchor. And it's very much, that laughter, and the breath work is what is that sort of, that pranayamic, that sort of yogic aspect. So it's that coming back to that all the time, and definitely with the breathing. And it's nice deep breathing. It's not just sort of regular breathing that we've been just doing in the last sort of 10 minutes. It's really sort of sucking in that sort of nice deep breath in and then out, and then once more in and then out. So then you can do the next laugh, so you've refueled.
Ah, okay. So, and then you talked about just now, I'm going to going back, asking the questions from what you had just talked about, which was then you go in and you were doing elder care or laughter in some of these situations where people may not be in a laughing state of mind or be in a laughing state of their life. How do you bring that in?
It's a great question, and it's something that I really had to practice myself. So I'd been actually for many years, probably for about 4 years, I'd been getting very good at preaching about laughter
Mm.
being the best medicine, going into aged care, going into cancer care, going into dialysis. And then out of the blue, I got a colorectal cancer diagnosis.
Oh,
And there's nothing funny about a cancer diagnosis. And then after the bowel resection that I had, this, serious abdominal surgery, I physically could not laugh for for several weeks. So I didn't feel like laughing, and then I physically couldn't laugh. So this thing that I'd taken for granted my whole life, laughter, was taken away from me temporarily. And that's really when I got the opportunity to explore, okay, it's great to go into a group of people who feel like laughing, and it feels very true and authentic to themselves to laugh about life. But how do you actually get this laughter feeling for people when it's really, it could be, taken away from them, from, a cancer diagnosis or real health
right.
adversity or
Yeah.
real life stress? So that's actually when I actually expanded this notion of laughter just being ha 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 laughter into different forms of tapping into that energy, such as reframing a challenging situation, for example, through the lens of levity, finding the humor. Even if you can't find the humor now, even, thinking about it in the future, do you think there might be something I might be able to laugh about this in the future? And that changes the way the brain is responding to that trauma or to that challenge.
So when you have a
So
diagnosis or some bad news, or you're not able to physically laugh, you're saying, put yourself someplace else. Don't be in the moment. Think of something in the future or in the past.
it can be.
Okay.
If you're struggling in the moment,
Okay.
you can take yourself into the future, or you can even take yourself into the past and think about a time that you might have been going through a challenging, time. But then you think about the moments of laughter or love or joy that was shared, so much so that it puts a smile on your face.
Mhm.
And, when you have a smile on your face, that is a gateway to positive emotion. It can be a gateway to laughter. However, smiling in and of its own, right, is very much, a symbol of positive well-being. So there are many things that we can actually consciously call into, to give us these sort of micro moments of joy, micro moments of levity or laughter in our day. And that's especially important if people are going through a challenging time. So say, for example, someone's, lost their job. You're not just sort of going to suggest to them, just laugh about it. It's like,
Right.
yeah, right. That's going to feel very toxic and insincere. However, if working with someone like that and you say, that's a really challenging thing that you are dealing with. But, are there any moments of gratitude that you can sort of pick out from your day that you can, just bring into your awareness? So it can even be something like, turning on the shower and hot water coming out and being grateful for that, or having the opportunity to have just a bit of downtime to perhaps consider what's next. That's a
Mhm.
luxury, to be able to have that. Or it might be having a lovely conversation just with with a friend, just being able to talk to someone and feel that you are heard. Those are the sorts of micro moments of levity, of joy, of gratitude, that the more we have those in our day, necessarily the less stressful ones we have. So no matter what we are going through, that is a really important practice.
To start that, it's almost a gateway to get
It is.
into
It's a
laughter.
gateway.
It's a
It's a
gateway.
gateway, and it's about setting the intention. It's, as I say, you might want to experience a bit more humor in your day. So, how can you get a micro moment of humor in your day? Well, it might just be, searching for a funny meme or turning on a, lighthearted podcast or a
Mhm,
comedy,
mhm.
or calling a friend just to sort of, even just to laugh with a friend, just to have that sort of
Right.
go-to laughter buddy friend that you can get sort of that dose of joy.
So those all sound like external things to get you to laugh. Is there anything that you can do internally that maybe you don't have a device to help you with a meme, or you don't have a friend
Mm.
to tap into to help you out with some laughter? What can you do on your own to bring that to yourself?
Great question, and it's a really important question. And I think it actually starts from the first moment we open our eyes. And it's like, do we open our eyes and just sort of get out of bed, gruff and with
So
a bit of a
sometimes,
grimace?
sometimes that
Yeah,
happens, Roz.
yeah. Or do you say, hey, I don't know what's going to be today, and today, yesterday wasn't that flash, but just actually placing a heartfelt smile on your face. It actually
Sometimes.
sends a signal to your, to brain. It's like, hey, sense of ease, sense of well-being. And then that smile that you have placed on your face, that's been an internally generated one, you're more likely to share that with your partner, your child, or whoever you next come, into contact with, than the grimace. So we can actually start to share the ripple effect of a smile. Now, you're asking about laughter, and I think that's a really important question because there is a certain vulnerability to laughing out loud. Children don't
Ah,
think about laughter, right? It's like
right.
everything's
Yeah,
funny. But with adults, we get conditioned. Is it appropriate for us to laugh now? What
sure.
will people think of us? I'm in a serious job now. I can't be looking like I'm having too much fun. However, we need to ensure that we do timetable moments of laughter. And there are some days we need that more than others.
What does that mean? Timetable. What does that mean?
Well, I'll give you an example. So it's not leaving it to chance. It's too important. So, say, for example, we are driving to a meeting and we're running a little bit late and there's another damn traffic light and it's red. Arrgh. So rather than sort of, really sort of start swearing at the traffic lights, reframe these traffic light moments as opportunities to breathe more deeply, to smile, and
Mhm.
even to laugh. And the amazing thing about laughter is that it doesn't take much to actually change our physiology. So we can just intentionally choose to laugh while that traffic light is red, just for a few
It is
seconds.
contagious because every time you laugh, I feel like I need to laugh and there's no reason. But
It
okay,
absolutely is.
ignore
But
me.
the wonderful thing is that because it is a vulnerability trigger, if you are laughing in your car, the
Mhm.
person who walks past, the person who sat in the car next to you, is just going to assume you're laughing with a friend. So there's no shame involved in this laughter. It's a great way to actually just laugh for laughter's sake. And as I say, just a few seconds, these traffic light moments of laughter or smiling or deep breathing, they help reduce the stress. They help sort of put a lid on those stress hormones. And it can be, if people have got a regular, meditation or mindfulness practice, I always start, and this is something that I've done ever since I had those surgeries, those about 10 years ago now, was to start any meditation practice with a smile
Mm,
and then start the breathing, to be very intentional about smiling outside of the home,
yeah.
walking down the street and sharing a smile, or in your office building choosing a new person a day to smile to. So, whatever we practice, we get good at. And that's because we're actually changing those neural pathways. We're strengthening those neural pathways to sort of think, hey, traffic light, opportunity to
Laugh,
breathe,
breathe, laugh.
to smile, to laugh. We've just frozen. And, and again, waking up in the morning and smiling to your loved one rather than just,
Right,
where's my coffee?
right,
So
right.
these little acts that, they might sort of seemingly seem small, but they are, they're very significant, and they change the way that, we act in
So,
time.
what is actually happening inside our body? First, I want to ask you about what's happening with me, and then I want to ask what's happening with you. But
Sure.
what's actually happening inside my body when I do practice that little bit of smile, laugh out loud for the red traffic light? What's happening?
So, there's lots of literature about what's happening when we're stressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adrenaline, cortisol. So when we smile, when we laugh, we're actually tapping into those happy hormones that I mentioned earlier, that dopamine, oxytocin, which is, the molecule of love, serotonin, which is our body's natural antidepressant, and endorphins, which are our body's pain management central. They're our body's
Mm-hmm.
morphine. And
Right.
dopamine is that sort of hit. It's like, someone smiled back at me. So we've got that sort of happening in terms of our neurotransmitters and our hormones of well-being. What also happens is that, and this is why FaceTime, real FaceTime really helps, is that we've got these really special brain cells called mirror neurons. So when I'm smiling, my mirror neurons are, firing and wiring. When I smile at you, that signals your mirror neurons to fire and wire. And soon we have this exchange of mirror neurons firing and wiring. So that explains why yawning is contagious, but
Mm.
smiling is contagious.